Welcome friends to our December plan with me and moreover Shabby Shac Studio's first ever YouTube channel video. I'm rather proud to say that I'm finally jumping in and doing it after saying I'm going to and having so many requests for so long from my beautiful students. In short, I'm a multidisciplinary designer, so I have qualifications in interior design, graphic design and surface pattern design. I am a creative soul and am always making something beautiful in my home. It just makes my heart happy. I started planning these pages actually quite a few weeks ago. I sat down with my pen and paper and started to think, what does Christmas mean to me? And what came out were these sweet little gingerbread houses and cookies and English trifle and fruit mince pies and candy canes. They were all the sweet little things that made me think of the people I love most, which was lovely. They also, interestingly, departed from my quite realistic style and became these childlike, whimsical little characters with funky, crazy little shaped trees and big fluffy balls of snow and panes of glass, and you're peeking into those little windows and what's going on in those houses with heart frames and all kinds of fun little bits. I was quite surprised, but I really enjoyed the process and loved what became of it. So on this one, I always create something with a watercolor aspect, at least one thing for each of my BuJos. I do use my particular BuJo as my standard everyday journal. It isn't just made to be pretty and to be looked at. It is used and loved and quite honestly thrashed a bit by the end of the year. But I love that I have a piece of me in those pages. And this quotes page is particularly one of those pieces that I designed especially for me. So it's the perfect place that when the lyrics of a song speak to my heart, or a lovely quote from a book resonates with me, that I can jot those words down immediately and I'll remember them. So when I'm thinking later on of adding some words to a piece I've created or something that I'm teaching and that I want to speak to my students about, or a message that I want to give them, those words are at hand. You will probably also notice that the paper and the pens and the watercolors that I use aren't artist grade. They're not the most expensive one on the market. In fact, they're very accessible. They allow you to make a mistake without feeling like, oh my goodness, I've just spent all that money and now it's wasted. I have favorites that I absolutely adore, and I link all of those in my blog that will be attached to this. I've only been bullet journaling for about 12 months, but absolutely love it and just can't imagine life without it now. So I'm looking forward immensely to sharing it with you. Okay, moving into page 2, I have created a mood tracker. Once again, you'll notice that, well, one, the paper's a little different. This one is quite clean and crisp. It's not a watercolor paper, it's just a standard sketching paper. This is another page that I create that suits me. It reminds me to slow down when I'm pushing myself too hard, something that I tend to do a lot of, being too perfectionistic and not just letting things go. Overscheduling myself and expecting impossible things to be accomplished in a day. Raise your hand if that's you. So this one just reminds me that when I do colour it, so each of those little leaves, when we get to that, is numbered for an individual day of the month, and then I colour it to suit the colour coding, which will come next. But I colour it, and some will be that it's been really busy and productive, and then other days will be a reminder that I'm not feeling the best, or that I'm super happy, or whatever it is. But it does remind me that when I've coloured in each of those leaves, or a lot of consecutive days in the super busy productive colour, that I need to have a down day. I need to have a day where I can sit down and watercolor, just be with myself, be away from the computer, remember a little bit of self-care. So this one for me, I find, is particularly fun, and I always try to create something that is quite unique to the theme that month, and that's something that is a little bit fun and makes it a little bit easier to remember to do it, and something that's easy to see at a glance. If there's too many of the one colour in a day, to remind me, slow down, take care of you. You can see me adding the numbers in now, one for each day of the month, so 31 leaves, and the berries are just a sweet little addition that you can colour or not colour. I then decided to pick up a pair of scissors and just give it a very quick trim, and you can see just in the corner that I've given it a Bar Humbug or a Merry and Bright, so I've given those. They'll actually get a little dash of watercolour green and red, and that'll be my colour coding for the month and how my mood's going. So this is actually my cover page for December. Went following along with that theme with the gingerbread houses and the sweet funky trees and their snow-covered tops and Christmas lights and sweet arched timber doors with heart motifs and shutters and all those sweet little whimsical pieces that we would love on a house. Even the little bird sitting on the top of the tree, because you know, you've got to have those little bits. I did a snowman, there's a red wagon and gumboots, and I had so much fun creating this. I normally create a Dutch door, but this one ended up being, I do get dictated by kind of the image that I'm making or the image that I'm creating. I try not to get too bogged down in the planning and then lose the fun artistic part of it. And I do find that filming is so freeing. I'm generally creating it not the perfect angle, and you could probably tell that by my actual hand, and I'm trying to create it on an angle that can actually mean that I can catch this for you, but it does then let me be a little bit more free. Again, the topography is always just something that I've done by hand. This was a pencil sketch, and then I actually decided to just trim the top out, and that will give me a sneak peek through to page 2. As you can see, I didn't really do a full Dutch door this month. I just did the little peek through to the calendar at a glance. And then I always do something nice. I normally do a quote quite often on this page, or kind of my focus or that kind of thing, inspirational thoughts. But this time around I decided to, this is something that I feel like I haven't been doing at all this year. I've been really hard on myself as a small business owner. I've been forgetting to celebrate the wins. I've been forgetting to look back and actually give myself a pat on the back, or at least raise a glass to celebrate all the things that I have actually accomplished. It's very hard not to be hard on yourself when you're a small business owner and running your own studio and busy teaching students and being a mum and all of those things, but it's very hard to remember to be kind to yourself. So it was a really, really nice page to add to remind myself to celebrate the wins, celebrate all the things I actually do accomplish in that month. And then I just switched over and moved back a couple of pages and added in some color. So these pages are actually created on a digital silk paper, which has this beautiful finish, which is amazing with Copic markers. It doesn't give me too much ghosting as long as I don't do too many layers of Copic, but as you can see, they do give me the option to build up the layers of color, and they blend beautifully, and it gives me almost a kind of a painterly finish, which I love. And so each of my journals each month have a nice hefty helping of watercolor, Copic and pigment liners throughout. And this page do allow me to erase those pencil lines as long as I'm quite careful, but I do it with a kneadable eraser. Normal erasers do not work well on this paper, but kneadable erasers are a game changer. So they're fabulous on this paper. And that is thicker than standard too. So it's not your standard 80 GSM, it's around 110 GSM. So it's just much thicker and meatier, and it allows me so much more creative license, which I love. Now that I've finished my cover page and my second page, remembering me to celebrate my wins, they're both pretty and coloured up, and we are now moving on to our weekly spread. I had the most fun carrying on these sweet little gingerbread houses into a gingerbread village. And so I positioned that at the bottom of the page so that will be added, and each one will be different. Each page will be different, and it'll be just such a delight to add this in as I extend my weeks out as time allows. I'm not sure if you are a seasoned bullet journalist or if you are new to the game, but quite often we don't do it all in one go. It may look like we do, but we don't. We do it quite often as the month allows. Sometimes I'll do it all in one go if I have the time to do that. But usually I don't. Usually I add in a few extra pages at a time when I'm sitting down at night in front of the TV and pick up my pens, and it's just a lovely way to spend an evening. Okay, so I had such a wonderful time with this little village, adding in sweet details and again, those panes of glass, wondering what people would be doing inside these whimsical little houses. Little candy cane you can see there, and the snow-covered treetops and fluffy balls of snow. You can see I picked up my ruler once again when it came to writing my days of the week and giving myself, well, relatively straight lines. I'm not really that fussed that they're perfect, and I love little breaks and details in them. It just goes so well with the sweet little village of whimsical houses, and adding in some Copic market to make the houses the same colour as gingerbread, and those little green trees, and leaving the tops white for the snow. I do actually add in some coloured Copic over my days of the week. I actually find it's the really nicest way to actually add the date in without taking up lots of space. So you will notice in just a moment, you will notice that I actually write the date, so if it's the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd or whatever it is, over the top, and then I just outline it just freehand with some pigment liner, and it's by far my favourite way to add in the actual date itself. Okay, and last but not least is one of my all-time fave pages of all, and something that it's the interior designer in me makes me do it. It's my passion for colour. This is my colour palette page, and it's always done in watercolour. Quite often I actually do it live. I didn't actually paint this one live this month, but if you are interested in seeing previous months, just have a look at my blog, and the links are there to my videos, and I will be doing some in future too, so don't worry. They will be on YouTube very, very soon. They are a favorite, and again, they're on my Montmartre, my favorite Montmartre paper. And that was actually featured with Montmartre in, I think it was around August. They featured a pink and green color palette and a cherry theme that I did, and that was just so wonderful. It just felt lovely to be, that they appreciated what I created as well. So it was a really popular BuJo set up, that one as well, and it was super fun to create. Anyway, so these are just super easy little color palette that I do. The squares are completely freehand. I actually don't pre-sketch those, and that's the first part I do. So I just get my little student grade watercolors out, and I don't pre-mix colors. I use the colors that are there, and then I kind of mix them and add in the darker shades and add in a little bit of blue into the greens to deepen them up and make them a bit more sage and a bit more olive, etc., etc. So yeah, I just play with the colors that are there. I don't overthink it. It's very loose, as you can see, and it's fun. And I layer the color in just to suit me. It's just a really fun basic, but it's nice to celebrate color. It's something that everybody keeps this very neutral color palette so much these days. It's such a common thing to see, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love vintage, but it's so nice to have these beautiful splashes of color to brighten your day. When you open your pages, especially if you're having one of those days where it's a bit dreary or it's rainy or it's just tough. So this is a super fun one. Again, I kept my Christmas wreath, and I purposely planned it so that you can actually see the pencils of the actual wreath itself. So they rub out really, really well with my kneadable eraser as well. But I did plan them on purpose so that most of the green leaves fell on the green squares, the impromptu not planned green squares, and that the berries featured quite heavily on the red squares. And again, not planned, just made it work. Tied it with a pretty bow at the bottom, and then added in my signature font, my color palette at the bottom. I really, really hope that you have enjoyed this month's BuJo, and it's been a little bit of a labor. I was just recording and re-recording so much at the beginning, and then I thought, you know what, I need to stop. I'll never get this done. I'll never get to introduce myself to you and share this with you. And so it's very off the cuff and lots of ums in there, and I'm giving myself some grace. I'm allowing it to just be perfectly imperfect, and not be 100% everything, just to be my best effort today, and hopefully my best effort tomorrow will be a little better, and next month better again, and we'll do this together. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you could just smell that amazing candle, I'll see if I can find it and add a link for that as well. That was a pumpkin toffee, so that burned the entire, I actually filmed this over 2 days, and it was burning for most of it, and it was just the most delicious smell. So I'll see if I can find that link as well. So thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate having you here. If you've made it through to the end, you may not have, and that's okay too. But if you have made it through to the end, thank you so much.